John 6:70. Respondit eis Iesus, non ego vos duodecim elegi, et ex vobis unus diabolus est? Jesus answered them, Did not I choose you 12, and one from you all is a devil or a slanderer? This is rather an unexpected response from Jesus, but rather than going in depth into the exegesis here, we're just going to stick to the Latin and not get above our pay grade. Jesus answered them. That's our standard formula for answering people in the Vulgate. So here our quotation begins, Nona ego vos duodecim elegi, et ex vobis unus diabolus est. He's asking, none, are not these things true? And this is a question word, which indicates that the anticipated answer is emphatically, yes, that is the case. In fact, this question word assumes the answer yes. It has a negative counterpart, num, which expects the answer no emphatically, but that's not what we have here. We've got nona. Is it not the case that I, emphatically expressed here, I chose you 12 apostles. Here we've got first person singular, perfect active indicative. I chose you out of many different people. And yet, we might be tempted to add in English, and yet even ex vobis, from among you, one is a diabolus. Now, this word, I think, calls for some comment, and we'll give ourselves leisure to do that because the rest of the syntax of the sentence is relatively straightforward. Diabolus is not a translation of the Greek. In this case, it's actually a transliteration, which means our Latin translator has just written out in Latin form, in Latin letters, a Greek noun, which he's borrowing whole cloth from that language, from the original New Testament text. Erasmus, our 16th century philologist friend, in his annotations on his recast Latin translation of the Greek New Testament, makes an interesting comment here. He says, I'm surprised the translator chooses simply to transliterate diabolos, which means slanderer or accuser, and itself, in turn, is a rendering of Satan from the Hebrew language, since he could have just used an equivalent Latin word with the same meaning. For instance, delator, or even calumniator, both of which mean slanderer or accuser. But Erasmus says it seems like this was a very early and well-attested practice among those in the early church, so he lets it be in his own revised Latin translation. But that's an interesting comment, because again, it puts before our eyes the relationship between not one or two, but three different cultures that we find all throughout the Vulgate. And this relationship is what explains so many things which would otherwise seem inexplicable or confusing to us. We've got a Latin-speaking, Latin-writing translator rendering the Greek of the New Testament, which itself depends in various respects upon Hebrew idioms, Hebrew language, and Hebrew ways of thinking and expressing oneself. So we've got all kinds of cultural interactions across multiple layers going on here, and diabolos is a nice reminder of that.